Hello, everybody. This is Christina Fasonic, broadcasting live from Wheeling, West Virginia, like I am every time we do a broadcast for WCONA Live. I am here with my partner in crime, Damian Dressick, and we are. Hi, Damian. Surprise!
I'm glad I got back.
Right. I would have gone live with just your shadow. So we're waiting for our reader tonight. There have been high winds throughout the area, and I don't know if maybe she lost her connection or whatever. So we'll wait to see if she shows up. But meanwhile, I think I was just saying earlier that maybe we could talk about what's happening in the literary world now with the virus. How has it slowed it down? How has it changed it in terms of submissions? We know that many conferences have been upended. Including ASA and many others. AWP went on with maybe a third of their usual attendees. So I'm just wondering, what do you know on your end about what's going on? Any changes that you've heard?
Well, on a positive note, one thing I do want to make people aware of is that the Northern Appalachia Review is still accepting submissions. So we've got 2 more days. We extended our deadline from April 1st to April 15th. So if you do have work that you were looking to read at AWP, that you were looking to read at ASA, and you really want to get that work out there, we've got a forum for people to do that. So just check out www.northernappalachiareview.com for our guidelines. So that's one place you guys, anybody who's out there watching in Northern Appalachia can send work. So that's definitely something that I'd advocate people to do to participate in the literary community.
Definitely. And I know one of the things we were talking about, of course, this is not a done deal by any means, but we were talking about if when the issue comes out, if it's still not safe for us to get together in person again, that we would try to have an online reading to showcase some of the best works that are in the journal this very first issue. So that's something we can look forward to as a possibility as well in the future. I know yeah, I think it'd be great. And one thing I've learned is that, and you probably have seen this too, it's the artists, writers, musicians, people making art, sculptures and so forth. They are the ones who have sort of come to the rescue of bored people, stressed people in their homes. It hasn't been CEOs. It hasn't been a multi-million-dollar corporation, but it's been us producers and creators of art and literature that have really put ourselves out there to try to help people through this crisis.
Well, I think writers are, in some weird way, very fortunate, because what it takes to produce literature is basically time, attention, and paper. And we're not bound to the material considerations that somebody who maybe is an actor or a symphonic musician or an opera singer might be bound to. We're not in a position where we can only work with a lot of resources to produce things that other people can read. And also with the internet, we can share what we're doing through journals, through online journals, relatively easily compared to people in other media. So I think that's maybe like a bit of a silver lining for creative folks who are doing writing right now.
Yeah, that's true. I never really thought of it that way, but you're right. And I know that, symphonies have been getting together in their own little Zoom boxes, sort of like, do you remember? I was trying to remember this. I think it was Sesame Street, where they would put people in a box, a 4-square box, and say one of these things is doing its own thing. One of these things, or 3 of these things are doing the same. And you would have to, as a kid, pick out which person, like one person was playing basketball and everybody else was painting something, right? And I was thinking, do you remember that at all?
What I didn't realize about it was it never occurred to me that what Sesame Street was really doing is preparing us for the SAT.
I think you might be right. But I think what reminded me in that moment was how these symphonies and choral groups have been getting together, like the Brady Bunch with,
Right.
like a block and a block and a block. And it reminded me of that moment from Sesame Street where all the kids would get together and you'd have to figure it out. But you're exactly right with writers. I mean, I know I'm not the only writer who has written words on a napkin, on the back of a book, on with soapy crayons that you have in the shower for little kids. I've written lines in there before too. Anywhere that I can write something down, because if I don't write it down, then it becomes something else. So is there anything else from the literary world that you could tell us about that's a new development?
Well, I'm not sure I have anything in terms of new developments, but something I do want to talk a little bit about is if you are in a position financially where you can do something, I think there's never been a better or more important time to support our bookstores and to support our small presses. I think so. I mean, coming from around Pittsburgh, we have such a rich, we're privileged to have such a rich literary community with so many bookstores, so many venues for people to read, places for people to get together and talk about books. And the rents on these places are not free, and they're not able to do any business. So if you are able to order books from indie bookstores, right now is really a time when they need our help. And the same with small presses. I know, many small presses go to conferences with the idea that they'll be selling a not insignificant amount of books. They'll be talking to faculty about books for course adoption. And with those opportunities being limited by the virus, I think if we as individuals are in a position to reach out now, it's never been a better or more important time to do that.
Do you know what is the name of the bookstore that you guys sometimes read out in the Pittsburgh area? Is it Blue Whale, White Whale?
There's three that I really want to say a few things about. One is the White Whale Pittsburgh. They support multiple reading series. It's a terrific bookstore. They really work hard to create a good space for the literary community. Also, City Books on Pittsburgh's north side, and then the City of the Siren bookstore is another. They're creating a lot of opportunities from artists all over the world who are in places that are not able to work, and it gives them a safe space to create work. And then they bring in a lot of extremely gifted, talented authors. So those are three of the stores. I mean, there's so many. One could go on for hours and hours. But so I just think it's a good time to support small presses, to support your indie bookstores.
Do you know, are any of those bookstores taking orders online?
I believe White Whale is.
I'll try to track down some info.
Yeah, it's a little complicated, I think, in terms of whether or not they can have employees go in for some of them. But I believe White Whale is owner-employee situation, so they're able to do some stuff. And I know I believe I want to say it's bookstore.com. That one, don't quote me on. But there's an indie site that you can order.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you know more than I do?
Yeah, no, but I know I've seen the ads for that, and I can't recall if it's bookstore.com or book something. Yeah. So I think that's a great point. And plus, if they are still open or have online services, even if you don't want to buy a book right now, but like who doesn't, you can still buy books, certificates for the store and give them out as gifts just to keep people going. And they do support us. When writers need them the most, they're there for us. It's the independent bookstores. It's not like, I love Books A Million. It's fine. We have two here near where I live. But try getting a reading at one of those, right? But I walked into our local bookstore that's locally owned and said, hey, would you mind? I have a new book coming out. You don't know me, but could I put it in your store? And he's like, you can put it in the store and you can read, and here's some dates, and I'll make coffee. And it's we really have to support those people that keep us as writers going through our journey as writers, and to give our readers access to our material.
Definitely.
So I did want to say another thing. I don't think we're going to be able to catch up with Omope because I haven't heard from her, and I don't want to keep everybody online much longer. But I did want to point out that I just today got galleys back from the Journal of Appalachian Studies for a book review that I wrote a while ago on Matthew Ferentz's book, Appalachia North. And I don't know if you have read this book, but it is amazing. And I had read it in advance of the conference, and then the Writers' Conference of Northern Appalachia. And then he went on to win the Book of the Year. And I was just so excited and happy because it validated like what I had to say about him in that review. So just to give you an idea, they're still working. So the Journal of App Studies will be out. They didn't tell me when, but it'll be soon because this is, the last stage of the process. So I'm really excited to see that in print and to encourage even more people to read Matthew's book because it's amazing. Have you read it?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually pre-ordered it. I was so excited to see it existed.
Yeah.
I think that, one of the things that we've talked about a lot at the Northern Appalachia Review is the sort of distinct identity that the northern part of Appalachia has within the context of Appalachia that sort of links it and separates it at the same time. And that's something I've felt deeply for a long time. So when I saw there was this book called Appalachia North, I was extremely excited. We actually were fortunate enough at where I teach at Clarion University to have Matt come up and give a reading and a talk on, from Appalachian North and discuss the process of creating the book and some of what he hoped to achieve with it. If you have a chance to see Matt read, I would highly advocate doing so. He's a terrific reader and really swell guy too.
Yeah, he's a really, really nice guy. He came to Wheeling not long after WCONA was here in September. And so I had a chance because I wasn't busy and running around like crazy to actually listen to him. And he really gets it, what it's like to exist in this space in Northern Appalachia and how that works with the rest of the region and with the rest of the country and even in Canada. Because remember the part where he talked about Appalachia? I
do.
The Canadian Appalachia. Yeah. So if you haven't read that, that's coming out. And as Carrie says, some people say Appalachia, some people say Appalachia, some people say Appalachia. There's so many different ways to say it. And here in the North, we really, I think, embrace the diversity of the way that everybody says it because it really depends on where you grew up in Appalachia.
Or Appalachia.
Or wherever, whatever you want to call it is good with us because we really believe that, it's not bad anyway, it's said, and that anybody that's embracing our roots and our heritage, that we should recognize that and embrace them. So anyways, is there anything else you want to say? We'll have to catch up with Omope very shortly.
The only thing I'm going to say is I am reading PJ Picarillo's novel, The Indigo Scarf, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'd throw a quick plug out there for PJ. Really a vivid novel. And I'm writing a review of it, so I'll save the rest of it for when we got PJ on with us. But I just wanted to kind of recommend The Indigo Scarf.
Who are you reviewing the book for? What publication?
Jury's still out.
Sure. Okay, well, I just wondered because I haven't had time to read PJ's book, and it's been on my list since the conference. I mean, that's how backed up with. It's amazing, isn't it, to know personally so many incredible writers?
Well, it's one of the things I find strange.
Blows me away.
Well, you have these ideas, or at least I do. I don't know if this is true of everybody, but you think, oh, somebody that would write like this about such and such, and then sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're like, wow, I never would have expected, these sorts of scenes to come from this person, whether they're funny or they're violent or or just in terms of voice. It's just like, wow, this is. I never would have guessed some of this. I've had the good luck to be able to read a lot of stuff from quite a few Northern Appalachian authors over the last 6 or 7 months, and I'm just sometimes when I know the people, I'm just surprised in a good way.
I love that wow factor too. It's good. So I guess we're wrapping up for the night, right?
Well, let's talk about who we've got coming on Thursday. Do you have
Megan Carter Schreiber? Megan Schreiber Carter is coming on Thursday. And let's see, who else is going to be here next week? I've sent out an email sort of calling people to this, and we will reschedule MOPA for next week or probably next month. But I'm trying to think who is next. Let me go look at our schedule. It's out there. Let's see. So next week, we'll see Wesley McMasters on the Monday, and then Margot Orlando Littell is on April 23rd, and then Connie Kinsey is on the 27th, and Nicola Moretti is on April 30th. So those are some writers that we have to look forward to. And I see that Deborah has said that she's read a lot of books that came from the conference. And that has been like our big aim with everything we're doing, right, is to expand what we think we know about Northern Appalachian writers and the Northern Appalachian culture and region. And this has just been so exciting to meet all of you. I feel like I hit gold or something. I struck gold.
I love that. To expand what we think we know. That's terrific.
Yeah, because we all, I don't know about you, but growing up here, I didn't have a writerly role model that really stuck with me from, that I knew and identified that was local. And I think that's sad. And I don't want the next generation of Northern Appalachian writers to be in that position. I want them to be able to know us, who we are, the kind of work that we're producing, the kinds of things that they write about, so that they won't feel like I did, like that I was writing in a vacuum, or that I was writing from no place because all the other writers were from New York or from Philadelphia or from California or from Seattle, but not from Moundsville, West Virginia, or from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, even though there are many examples from Pittsburgh already. But I just feel like we have more of a opportunity to give the next generation of writers some really good mentoring and possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want people growing up in the sense that culture is the thing that's produced elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yes. Or that writing about your culture is something that other people do because it's far more interesting to write about XYZ than it is to write about closed down factories or the cow fields or whatever it is that we see when we look out our windows, that those things are important to write about too, that they're just as valid and just as beautiful and ugly at the same time, right, as anything else. So
worthy of exploration. All right.
Thank you, Damien.
Thank you, Christina.
I'll see you on Thursday right here, 8 p.m., where we will be with our next writer. So
wouldn't miss it. Looking forward to it. All right. Hopefully we'll see all of you in 3 days. 3 days. Yeah.
Hey, it's the COVID-19 calendar. Who knows? See you later. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, y'all.